In most animes, there is one thing that separates the hero from everybody else. The hair. Some grow it for power, others lose it for power. However, there is only one who eats it for power, and that man is known as the world's symbol of peace and the #1 hero. His name is simply Toshinori Yagi, but you can call him by his hero name, All Might.
You may have heard these words before, but I'll teach you what they really mean. Go beyond! Plus! Ultra!
Hello Internet, JoJo here, and welcome to IdeaShock, where today we're jumping straight into the world of My Hero Academia and analyzing the #1 hero, All Might. But we're not just going to take a look at the old worn out version of All Might, we're going to take a look and find out how strong All Might was in his prime. Now, there are going to be some spoilers ahead, mostly things that you find out early in the series, but they are spoilers nonetheless, so consider yourself warned. Ready? Let's go. The story of My Hero Academia follows Izuku Midoriya and his journey to become the #1 hero in the world. Most people in this world are born with a special ability or superpower that's called a quirk. But Izuku was born quirkless, and because of this, his prospects were not looking good, until one day he met the current #1 hero, All Might. The quirk that made All Might the #1 hero is a quirk that is special. It is a power stockpiling quirk that can be passed on to other people. So the more people that it's passed on to, the stronger it becomes. What All Might saw in Izuku was the potential to be the greatest hero in the world. He took a gamble and decided to give Izuku one for all. After much training, Izuku entered UA High School, a school for superheroes, in hopes of eventually training and becoming the #1 hero. But until that happens, All Might promised that he would protect and teach Izuku how to be a true hero. The journey was not an easy one, but All Might's power, leadership, and charisma are currently the only things that stand between the people of the world and the villains who seek their destruction. All Might is known for his powerful punches that he is named after states in the US. These punches also cause massive tornadoes when he uses them. His most powerful punch in the current timeline of My Hero Academia is This is by far his most powerful smash after he passed his quirk to Midoriya. This punch causes a massive tornado to form. Now, about 50% of all tornadoes release roughly 14 tons of TNT in their average lifespan of 10 minutes. However, comparing one for all to a tornado is rather silly. After all, one for all is much more akin to a bomb that forms into a twister, and not a twister itself. To find the size of this crater, we can use Small Might's arm as a ruler. So, just so you know, this is All Might, this is also All Might, but I'll refer to this guy as Small Might. This here is Mini Might, but I probably won't talk about him much for now. Anyway, Small Might's arm is about 31 inches or about 80.8 centimeters long. Using that, we can find that the crater radius is about 720 centimeters wide. We can then use that to find the height to be 180 centimeters. If we plug all these numbers into an ellipsoid volume formula, we can find that the volume of the crater is about 391 million cubic centimeters. The final step of this process is to multiply it by the needed amount to pulverize cement. Pulverization is a term for rendering a substance into undistinguishable parts, basically turning them into dust. So, the final result for All Might's United States to Smash punch is over 10 tons of TNT. That is powerful, but not even close to as powerful as he was in his prime. In episode 12, when the heroes first encounter the League of Villains, All Might goes toe-to-toe with the Hulk's less muscular, less intelligent cousin. This monster has the ability to absorb physical attacks. When All Might goes up against him, he decides on the brilliant plan to punch him harder. Typical anime hero. This actually works. All Might punches the shock absorption right out of him. Once the fight is over, All Might states that in his prime, he could have beat this Nomu with only 5 hits, but that in his current strength, it took him over 300. So this is our formula. 5 divided by 300 equals 60. Thus, multiplying All Might's current power by 60 gives All Might a max potential of 600 tons of TNT in his prime. Speaking of punching things, why don't you smash that subscribe button for more over-analysis of fictional characters. And be sure to leave a comment if there's a character that you want me to analyze, or you can check out the poll that I'm putting right here. Also, follow me on Twitter. I never thought I'd actually say that. I'm gonna start releasing character trailers when the videos go live on Mondays. So, yeah, in closing, subscribe. If you don't, how else am I gonna take over the world? I mean, seriously. While All Might is incredibly powerful on his own, he is also ridiculously fast. When All Might arrives at the battle at the USJ, the unforeseen simulation joint, he takes out several minor villains faster than they can see. US military tests have shown that the trained human eye can see and recognize an image in about 4.5 milliseconds. This means that All Might had traveled from here to here in that time. We can find out exactly how far All Might traveled by comparing his height here to the pillars next to him. We can see that the pillars are almost his exact height, 7'2". Using this known height and comparing it to the height in this panel, we can find that the distance All Might traveled to be 425 feet, or about 129.7 meters. For All Might to travel this distance in 0.0045 of a second, he would need to move at a speed of about 64,000 miles per hour. This is slightly over Mach 84. This means that All Might is 84 times faster than the speed of sound. Now, unlike offensive power, the speed that an object moves is based off the weight of the object and the energy used. All Might's 255 kilogram bulk at this speed would need over 105 billion joules of energy. This is the amount of energy that we need to multiply by 60. So, doing that, we can get 2,971 gigajoules of energy. Now, working backwards, we can find the speed that this amount of energy could move All Might is about 500,000 miles per hour. This is slightly over Mach 659. Need I say more? I will anyway. This is just my interpretation of both All Might's powers and his quirk. Another plausible way to find his speed is to multiply All Might's speed directly by 60, but the result this gets us is about 3.8 million miles per hour. This just seems to be far too overpowered for the world of My Hero Academia. One of All Might's most notable features is his durability. All Might is practically invulnerable, and in only a very few fights does he actually take much visible damage. When he fought the Nomu, he received almost no damage in the entire fight, save for a few hits to his weak spot. The Nomus were very strong, but their strength was not quite enough to put some serious damage on him. The most pressing issue during this fight was if All Might could keep his muscle form up for long enough.
I'm afraid that I barely have a minute left in this form. My power's declining faster than I thought it would. Even so, I have to stop these villains, because I am the world's symbol of peace and justice!
He did. The first time All Might took an excessive amount of damage was in his rematch with All For One. All For One uses a mix of quirks to do this. Using the height of this building, we can find that at this point of the wreckage, the explosion was about 762.8 feet wide. We can then compare it to the width at the widest point of the clearing and find that the max width is about 979.2 feet, with the length being about 1,141 feet. Since area equals length times width, we can find that All For One's attack covered roughly 1,114,000 cubic feet in area. Assuming that the buildings that were destroyed were the same height and type as the ones here, here, and here, we can find the weight of the concrete that was destroyed. A typical residential building weighs about 50 pounds per square foot per floor, with 30 pounds per square foot for the roof. Plugging all these numbers in and saving y'all from... Did I say y'all? My Texas is coming out. Anyway, saving you from too much math, we can find that the total weight of the buildings would be about 256 million pounds of concrete. Now, I'm going to remove 6 million pounds for roads and empty spaces, leaving us with 250 million pounds or roughly 47,000 cubic meters of concrete. For All For One to fragment concrete like this, he would need to produce a grand total of 255 tons of TNT. Honestly, I'm just impressed that Best Genius survived it. All For One lands several major attacks on All Might during the entire fight. All For One lands one at the beginning of the fight, one in the middle, and then a final devastating one with his Doomsday arm at the very end. We don't know exactly how much more powerful the Doomsday punch was, but it's safe to say that it was about 2 times more powerful than the previous hits. Adding all these together, we can tell that All Might took about 910 tons of TNT in damage during the fight. And by the end of the fight, All Might was so beaten up that just about any villain could have killed him if they wanted to. So this is most likely his max. So now we just need to multiply that by 60, and we can get a total durability of about 54,600 tons of TNT, or about 45.6 kilotons of TNT. This means that All Might could take 2.5 Fat Man bombs to the face. And actually, this shouldn't be too much of a surprise. After all Might uses explosions to change clothes. I mean, take that, Superman. All Might is more than just a powerhouse. He was practically beaten until he mastered the art of combat. That is really excessive, Gran Torino. Like, no wonder he doesn't call you. Considering that All Might's style uses almost exclusively punches, it's safe to say that All Might has mastered boxing. There are typically 3 accepted styles of boxing: Swarmers, Brawlers, and Outboxers. Swarmers typically overwhelm their opponent with fast and light punches. Brawlers typically sacrifice speed and maneuverability for overwhelming power and defense. Outboxers are boxers that keep their distance and wait for their opponent to make a mistake or to leave an opening. All Might has actually demonstrated proficiency in all 3 of these types of combat. All Might is a combat genius. When he fought the Nomu in the anime, the first actual attack of the fight was fist against fist. By doing this, All Might actually minimized damage to himself while keeping Nomu's fist busy and wearing down both his absorption and his healing factor. This was probably the best way for All Might to fight Nomu. And All Might came up with this plan on the fly. All Might has also shown that One For All can heal major wounds, like when All Might healed when he fought All For One. All Might can also use the force of his punches to imitate flight. And finally, that hair is just on point. Okay, now we have spoilers for the pretty recent chapters in the manga. Well, I mean, not like super recent, but recent-ish. Recently, Midoriya awakened another quirk. Now, because Midoriya and All Might have the same quirk, they should also have the same abilities. However, All Might doesn't actually know anything about the other quirks. When he's asked about it, he has no clue about what's going on. In fact, he says that he doubts any of the other predecessors had unlocked this ability. And this is how we know that All Might doesn't have the same access to these skills that Midoriya does. For almost all of All Might's life, he only had one goal: to become the world's symbol of peace and justice. And over time, he succeeded. He became the symbol he wanted to be, but not without many sacrifices along the way. And while every fight All Might has ever been in, he's won, his identity is not just that of someone who wins all the time. His identity is built around the idea that hope can come from a single smile. That is why he always has a smile on his face. That's why he always will. And if you're a villain and you come across All Might and he doesn't have a smile, you better run, because that's your best chance for survival. All Might and My Hero Academia have a special place in my heart. Now, I'm not going to go into the reasons I like it here, but to me, All Might is more than a fictional character. He's an ideal. He is the best that we can possibly hope to be. He stands for what is right and doesn't back down from anybody. He's a teacher, protector, and friend to everyone he meets. To All Might, there are no people that are not important. That's why he went through such great lengths to find a successor. He needed to find someone who could be a true hero. All Might needed to find someone who would run headfirst into danger without any sort of reservation. And in the end, that is a true hero. Thanks for watching to the end. Remember, stay spectacular. See you next time. JoJo out.